Welcome to the Swim Swam podcast. As always, I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining us today, world champion and recent swimmer of best times at the Huntington Beach Sectionals in California. We're sitting down with Claire Weinstein. Claire, how's it going?
It's good. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. I am excited to get your insight on a lot of different things today. I'm going to start with those Huntington Beach Sectionals. So last year, the Sandpipers went to Winter Juniors in Austin. And this year, instead of opting for one of the two Winter Juniors that were both in the Midwest and not, pretty centrally located in the U.S., the Sandpipers opted for this short course meet in California. Was that mostly just a proximity thing? Did you guys go to that meet just because it was closer than one of the Winter Junior meets?
Yeah, I know that Coach Ron usually only likes going to juniors when it's at like the Austin pool. So I think that's one of the reasons why we didn't go. But we also had like the open water meet that was like the same week as US Open. So that's why we didn't go to US Open. And the past 2 years we've went to sectionals. We were originally going to this other meet, but then it got canceled. So then we just went to sectionals.
Nice. Yeah, it seemed like it made a lot of sense for y'all. I forgot that the open water meet factored into that. I was going to ask about that anyway. We'll get to that in a minute. But this was it seemed like it was a target meet for you all in yards. Can you tell me a little bit about the prep for that meet and how you were feeling heading into this sectional meet?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really like do much. Like, I honestly don't understand any of like what we do, but I know that we kind of went down like a little bit for open water because you don't want to go in like super beaten up for open water, but you also can't come down too much because it's a 10K. So I kind of just think we just like maintained it from there. Then, yeah, just went to sectionals.
Did you feel like you were going to have a good meet at sectionals, or did you have any idea?
I don't really know. I didn't really go in like with any expectations. Honestly, I felt like horrible like a couple days before, but usually when we're going down yardage, like it doesn't like feel good. So I don't know. Like I think it kind of could have gone either way.
Mm-hmm. And then can you kind of take us through the meet? The first day, to give our listeners some context here, you were 9:17.8 in the 1,000 freestyle on day one, 1:43.7 in the 200 free on day two, and then 4:29.3 in the 500 free on day three at all best times. Can you kind of take us through the meet and how you felt during each of those swims and how you feel about them now?
Yeah, so I think my like distance races were pretty good. I mean, that's kind of like last year at juniors, I didn't have like the best swim. So I think honestly that's kind of where I should have been like last year. My two free obviously wasn't that good. It was so weird because I think it's just because I swam it differently, but like in the relay I had a much better split, and I think just like I don't know. I haven't really figured out like how to like sprint short course yet or like at all. But yeah, I think the two free definitely wasn't that good. But yeah, I was happy with like my 5 free and my 1,000. But yeah.
Yeah. And then were you making adjustments at all during the meet, or did that first 1,000 swim surprise you at all? Or was it kind of like you said, you were expecting a swim like that at some point?
Yeah, I was definitely expecting to do good. In the race, I was kind of lost because I was like kind of far ahead. So I thought I wasn't doing that good. So the 9:17 surprised me, but only because like the race didn't feel that good. But yeah, I knew I was probably gonna have, or I should have had like a pretty good swim in that.
Do you feel like your your yards mastery is growing. Sorry, not mastery, but your knowledge of how to swim yards, especially now that you've been with the Sandpipers for I think a couple seasons. Do you feel like you're getting more and more knowledge and experience on how to execute some of these races at the level that you want to?
Yeah, definitely. It's so much different than long course. Like I feel like this is probably like bad to say, but I feel like there's so much less like strategy involved in short course because you're just like going fast all the time. Like I feel like you can like plan out your races long course like so much better. But in like the five free, like it's basically just like a sprint. Like you just go fast the whole time and like hope that you can like keep it up. So um yeah. I think I've just gotten better at just like going out faster and just trying to hold it.
That was your short course meet. Congrats on that. And,
Thank you.
and then again, as you mentioned, a couple weeks before you were in Portugal for an open water competition. Can you tell me about just that whole experience? Obviously the international travel, your race schedule, and then how you felt about the races that you did compete in.
Yeah, I only did one race, which was the 10K, and I thought it was pretty good. I mean, my open water kind of goes like back and forth, like depending on like whether it's like a wetsuit race or if it's wavy or whatever. Like I either do like good or bad. But that was a good race for me. I feel like I got a lot of good experience about it. But yeah, open water is just something that I always go like back and forth on honestly like whether I even want to do it or not. But that kind of gave me hope that like it's in my future, hopefully.
I mean, so you go back and forth on whether on wanting to do it or not. Is that
Mhm.
something that took convincing for you, or is that something that you spearheaded as wanting to try and explore with?
Yeah, well, even on like my old team, like we would do open water, like we always went to like open water junior nationals or whatever. I only had done like the 10K before moving to Sandpipers, but here like open water is a big thing and everybody kind of does it and I like it like sometimes I really love it and sometimes like I hate it. Like I had a really hard time in like my first international race in Italy in like April or May, I think. And after that race I was like I'm never doing open water again. But then we ended up like going to Paris after Worlds for open water. We didn't even swim because it was canceled, but yeah, I guess Portugal was fine. So
Portugal is fine.
yeah.
Uh, what makes you say that? Why was it fine and not terrible or not great?
Well, it was good. I was just I don't know. I just used that word. I loved Portugal. It was really pretty there, and it was a really good experience. But it was just really wavy. Like that was a really big thing.
Gotcha. How do you deal with that in that situation when it is, wavy and you're swimming
Um,
10,000 kilometers?
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, it's kind of like you figure out in the moment. Like, for me specifically, I just like wing it like every time I I do it. Like, you just have to like figure out what you want to do. Like once you're already in the race. Like, we were only able to swim the course once before like the actual race, and that helped a little bit. But honestly, like even just like throughout like the 10K, like the wind changed so much, like the waviness changed, and like I don't know, you just have to figure it out when you're in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of thinking on your feet and also a lot of, well, metaphorically, and then also a lot of time to think, right? What
Yes,
how,
definitely.
how do you manage that, with just what is it, a 2-hour race? Two and a half?
Yeah, it was just under 2 hours. Honestly, like it goes by really quickly. Like before I did my first 10K, like people told me like it goes by fast because you're thinking so much.
Hmm.
But it's actually true. Like honestly, like a 10K where you're like thinking so much can feel like the mile, honestly, because the mile feels like forever for me because you're just like staring at the bottom of the pool, but you're just like you have to just like juggle so many things at once, like the turns and like the passing and the drafting that it goes by really quickly.
Yeah. And then do you get nutrition during the races?
Yeah, we have to make like feed bottles. We like everybody has like their own like weird concoction, but basically there's always like a feeding dock and they like put out a stick with like your bottle on it. You just grab it and drink it on like whatever lap you want.
What kind of concoction do you put in yours?
I put liquid IV, goo, and I think that's it. Just like caffeinated goo, like the goo gels. I think most people do like something about that. I know some people like crush up like ibuprofen and put it in it. I just take the ibuprofen before, but um yeah, I don't know.
That's
Some
interesting.
people, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to think of like some like other ones that people usually do. I think mine's kind of a more um usual one. I don't know. I can't think of anything, but yeah.
Yeah. Does the goo dissolve, or does it make
Yeah.
it like
Yeah,
thicker?
you have to like shake it vigorously and then then it dissolves.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that seems pretty regular for a distance race like that. But
Mhm.
so what is it like traveling somewhere, especially internationally, right? For just one race.
I don't know. Like usually it is like that for open water, which is kind of nice because you can like absorb like where you are more.
Hmm.
Like when you go for like pool, you have so much going on that you can't really like explore as much. But I don't know. Like I've never really thought about how like that might be different. I don't know.
Do you feel like you were able to absorb Portugal? I mean, you said it was really pretty. It's at the top of my list of places I'd like to visit. What struck you about just being there as Portugal as a place?
Yeah, just like the water was so pretty. I wish we had like more time to like do stuff, but the sushi there was really good. I'm a big sushi person and it was really good. Um, but yeah, just like everything.
Yeah, it sounds like a nice place to have a competition if you're gonna go somewhere.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
so that's really cool. I saw on you just posted your kind of year in review, and
Yeah.
you did a lot of traveling this year.
Yeah.
For anyone, let alone for someone who's still in high school, do you in reflecting on all of these travels, are there trips that stood out to you? Was there a favorite, or was there a favorite place, a favorite competition?
Probably like our meets in Florida are usually like my most favorite, or like our training trip to California was really fun. Just places that we can like go to the beach and like have fun. I know we went to Fort Lauderdale for the Pro Series, Sarasota for open water, then we had a training camp in California, and those probably were my favorites.
I'm really upset that they didn't bring back the Fort Lauderdale Pro Swim.
I know, I know. It's very sad. That was really fun. That was probably the most fun Pro Series I've been to.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was super nice for those who weren't lucky enough to attend. Every night during finals, the sun was setting over the
Hmm.
pool. You have this like awesome dive tower that was kind of contrasted the sunset sky in the background. You could go to the beach between prelims and finals, or like the day
Hmm.
after the meet. It was, yeah. I'm pretty bummed. I don't feel like
Yeah.
San Antonio is the same
Yeah,
as
definitely not.
as Fort Lauderdale. Um, do you? How do you feel about how much travel you do? Because it seems you're traveling at least once a month, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely a lot. I mean, this year was like by far the most I've ever traveled. And honestly, like it didn't feel like that much until I tried. Like, I don't know if you've seen, but people have been posting like 6 places where they've been in the year. And I was like, oh, maybe I can do that, but like every place I've gone. And then I was like, this is way too much to put on like one Instagram story. So I
Yeah,
had to like draft them and spread them out. But yeah, I like traveling. But it's definitely nice to be like home and like sleep in your own bed and whatever. But yeah, I'm glad that I have like so many opportunities to like travel the country and the world.
absolutely. Do you in the upcoming 6 months, kind of leading up to Olympic trials, will you travel less? I'm guessing.
Yeah, probably. I honestly don't really know like what meets we're going to yet, but yeah, I don't think we're gonna be running around as much, so we can just like focus on other things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
So in terms of your uh, summer, This summer at World Champ Trials, you won your first national title.
Mhm.
Uh, how do you feel like that? How do you? Sorry, coming into this fall, how did you feel overall about the summer that you had from trials to World Champs, and then I guess you were going to do open water in Paris, and then you didn't end up doing that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, obviously I wasn't like my summer wasn't as like successful as I hoped it would be, but I think I took a lot out of like world trials and like what happened at Worlds and all the issues that I had. And I think that I just learned a lot and I can use a lot like for this upcoming year.
Yeah. Are there any specific takeaways you're pinpointing or you're really carrying with you into this season?
Yeah, probably just being like I being more like independent, if that makes sense, because I think not having like my coach and like our training trip for Worlds like really hurt me, and I think I just need to be better at like managing things on my own.
That that seems very mature of you, which obviously is a good thing moving forward. But yeah, I think that makes sense, and I think there's also probably a learning curve to that,
Mhm.
as in swimming as in life.
Mhm.
Do you feel like throughout all these travels you've been able to kind of develop some of that independence?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there hasn't been, well, definitely independence from like my parents, but I think the independence from like not training with my coach is one I'm still working on. And it's hard because we don't have like the easiest like practices to do by ourselves and stuff. But yeah, that's also something that like had to do with like me not taking as many recruiting trips because I just like hate training on my own. Like it's probably my least favorite thing to do.
If I was a sandpiper, I would also hate training on my own, I think,
Yeah.
which I think most swimmers do, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it is very hard. Um, that's also a great segue. How many recruiting trips did you end up taking again, because you didn't want to take I mean, five's a lot, right? Going on
Yeah.
five
Yeah.
trips is like kind of excessive, but
hmm Yeah, I only took two. I went to Indiana and Cal. I had another one planned, but I didn't end up going because it was just a lot like to plan with like the flights and stuff. And I was just like, I don't know, it was really stressing me out. And I was like, this shouldn't be like something that's stressing me out. Like I should be happy about this. So yeah.
I hear you. As someone who travels for their career, traveling stresses me out a lot, and as does
Yeah.
planning it. Um,
hmm
so yeah, that totally makes sense. And then obviously, you announced your verbal commitment for Cal.
hmm
Can you tell me a little bit about that and what went into that decision, and ultimately what made Cal the right move for you?
Yeah, I think just like everything, like when I went there, I just loved every part of it. Just like the coaches, I loved how all of them like worked together and all of them were involved with like all the swimmers and just like the plans that they had. And just I loved the campus and obviously like the academics are really good. So I think just like everything together, like just was why I made my decision.
Yeah. Did did you, can you tell me about the coordination with the other females in your class, if there was any? Because obviously, the class of 2025 for the Cal women is on a roll right now.
hmm Yeah. So, I don't know, like I was the first person to go on the trip because on a trip because I didn't go on an official. So we're all kind of friends and we would text and be like, oh, like what trip are you going? What trip are you going on? And so after my trip, I kind of texted them and I was like, oh my God, like I love Cal. And then we were kind of like, oh, like what if we all go to Cal? Which was like that was totally just like up in the air. Like we weren't being serious and I didn't even know I was committing yet. But yeah, I was gonna wait to commit because until after Athens and Berlin, like the World Cups we went to. But then Alex posted, she was like, "Oh, like we should do it on the same day. Like it would be so crazy." So I just took my pictures and posted them, and I was like, it was really nice to just get it out of the way. So yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that obviously made waves in the swimming community, and I think people were kind of astounded, right? You know, the two of the top recruits in the class both committing on the same date at the same place, and then kind of everyone was waiting on Tegan, who was one of the other recruits, and then when she finally also committed to Cal, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
As well as I think you have like 4 or 5 other swimmers in that class at this point.
Yeah, we have a big class. It's really, I love all of them. We have like a group chat going, and everybody's so nice. I can't wait to be teammates with them.
Yeah. So now that the verbal commitment part is over for you, and now that you know this huge class that you'll be coming in with, that's just stacked from top to bottom, with a lot of swimming talent, and I'm sure a lot of great people as well. How are you feeling about not only that decision, but just the upcoming future, which is still kind of a long way away?
Yeah, I'm really happy about it. I'm super excited because, like, obviously the women's team is kind of going through a rebuild, and I'm just really excited to be a part of that because I know that, like, basically, like, what we need is kind of going to be, like, built around all of us instead of, like, us trying to, like, fit into something, which is really cool. So, yeah, I'm very excited about that, even though it's kind of far away. But it was good to just be, like, committed and be done with it because as much as you can say like, oh, I'm not going to let this stress me out, like recruiting is stressful, and it was definitely like something that was affecting me at the time. So yeah.
I don't see how it couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that seems very normal, and congrats on making the decision and having it out of the way.
Thank you.
Um, and then you go to the World Cups, which I didn't even think about, but that I've never been to a World Cup meet, but it seems like a very unique and cool experience, especially to go in Athens and Berlin. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience and how it went for you?
Yeah, that was a little bit of a rocky meet. I got like, I swear I always get sick when I go to swim meets. I got like really sick. Like I think the day before Berlin, and it kind of just like dragged out to like Athens too. I had like I had one like okay for free in Greece, kind of like still recovering from like being sick, but it was kind of annoying because that was supposed to be like a good racing opportunity for me, and instead I was just like fighting being sick the whole time. But I had some really questionable swims there.
Aside from like being sick, were there other things that made the swims questionable? Like, did you swim the races in a way that you weren't happy with, or was it just like, oh, my times were slow because I'm sick?
Yeah, well, I was okay. So I was sick, but I felt like as I was like racing, it just got like progressively worse. So I think I went like the first day 4:10 in the morning of the 4 free, and I was just like done after that apparently because I think at night I went like a 4:20, and I was like, okay, that's really interesting. And then the next day in the 2 free, I didn't even make finals, so I was like, okay.
I mean, it probably was getting progressively worse, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't think any doctor would recommend, oh, you're sick, go swim in a swim meet.
yeah, definitely not.
But that's hard. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of swimmers try to fight through that sickness, and especially, you're in Europe, like you're there,
Mhm.
might as well
I
try to
know.
race.
I know. It was hard to be like, "Oh, like, should I not swim when I already was there?" Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm sure you did the best with what you had at the time.
Yeah.
Um, but you've had quite a year. Reflecting on just your swimming as a whole in the last year, I don't know if you've done that. Maybe you haven't at all. But does anything stand out to you about what you've accomplished or what you've gained in 2023?
Um, I don't know. It's a hard question. I feel like I've just learned so much that I can like take with me this year. Um, just like I don't know, just like every year that I'm on Sandpipers too, like I learn more about like managing like the training and like managing like the travels and stuff. So I just feel like everything combined will just like set me up good for the future.
The again, I don't like you guys went to open water and then you went right to sectionals, but it seems like everyone on Sandpipers just lit it up at
Yeah.
that meet. Can you tell me a little bit, so coming full circle in this conversation, can you tell me a little bit about the team dynamic in Sandpipers right now? Obviously every year, I'm sure the team's a little bit different. And what is it like right now in training, and what was it like having everyone swim seemingly so well at that meet?
Yeah, we have a really good group this year. I think just like having everybody to just like push each other in practice is very like beneficial for everybody. Um, but yeah, I think the only difference between our group is that like Bella and Ilya are gone. Now we have Gabe and Santi in our group. Um, but yeah, it's definitely really fun at practice.
Did so it's still about 10 to 12 athletes in that top training group?
Yeah, we have, I think, 10 people in our group, depending on the day. There's some kids that come like in and out, depending on if it's like long course or short course. But yeah, usually it's like about like 10 or 9.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
And so then I guess just moving forward, what are do you know of any immediate plans in terms of, do you guys take a training trip for the winter, or will you go to the pro swim in January, or do you have a meet on the schedule for that month?
Yeah, I honestly have no idea what meets we're going to. Um, but yeah, we every year we go to OTC for a month in like March, but yeah, I'm not really sure what like meets we're doing like around that.
Do Sandpipers do a Christmas training? I mean, I feel like every day for you guys is Christmas training.
Yeah, I feel like we're like one of the only teams that don't do Christmas training. Like if anything, like December is when like it gets easier. Like right now, like we're kind of just like doing like some pretty like low intensity practices, and it's kind of nice just like flushing out like sectionals and like open water honestly still. But yeah, it's like when I see like the other colleges going through like their like hell weeks or whatever, it's like crazy. I'm very glad we don't do that.
I didn't know that was an option, that you could
Yeah.
like take it easy in December. And then
Yeah.
I talked to Emma McKeon and Kaylee McEwen's coach, Michael Bull, in Australia. And he was like, that's what they do. They have their Queensland championships that happened last week ish. And then
Hmm.
they kind of like take it easy for a couple weeks. I think,
Yeah.
kind of do a holiday and then like kind of restart in January. And I was like, that's an
Yeah.
option. Like swimmers can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. That's usually what we do too. Like we take it easier towards the end and then we have like Christmas off or whatever. And then like back in the new year we started up again, like building back up. But yeah.
I think that's great. I think you're breaking the mold, and I hope you enjoy these next couple weeks of relaxed practices, because yeah, honestly, I feel like the Sandpipers every week is everyone else's Christmas training.
Yeah. That's true.
But anyway, Claire, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and chat. It's been great catching up with you. You've been listening to the Swim Swam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take Swim Swam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.